So welcome back everybody. In today's video, we're going to be installing a CB in our Mahindra Roxor right here. Now the reason I want to put a CB in here is we live out in a very rural area. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of acres of timberland and areas where there's no homes, no nothing, and a lot of those areas have no cell signal. We got hit by a major hurricane last year, which knocked out our local cell towers. We recently just had tornadoes come through the area and severe storms, which also damaged our cell phone towers. And take a look at some of these clips. We recently had flash flooding in the area as well. And we found ourselves one night miles and miles down completely flooded roads with rushing water coming through, washing out, and we were in an area with no cell phone signal. I really need to get one in here in case we need to be rescued one night out of cell service or in case we need to go help someone else out. So I've actually had this stuff for quite a while, but getting almost caught in that flash flood recently motivated me to go ahead and install this stuff. So I picked up a nice compact Uniden radio right here. It actually has everything on the handheld remote and it's got a tiny box that goes underneath the dash. While this isn't quite as powerful as some of the really big large units, I just don't have the room in there for the very big powerful buttons all-in-one units. We're going to use what's called an SWR test meter. I picked up a cheap one here and an additional cable to work with this so we can tune our antenna properly. We got a spring-loaded antenna mount. And I picked up a Wilson 3-foot fiberglass antenna. This again is tunable. We're going to go through that and tune it should we need to. All this stuff was picked up on Amazon. I'll put links down in the description in case you're curious about any of it. We're going to have to fab us up a little mount today, figure out how to run the wires in. And the reason I went with a 3-footer, you can get them all different sizes up to long whip antennas. Those pick up great, but this is a short, compact vehicle. We go under a lot of limbs. So I decided, again, to sacrifice some range by going to something a little more compact and that looks good on the vehicle. All right, so if you've never seen a Mahindra Roxor, it's just kind of like an old school Jeep, except it's got a diesel engine under the hood, 5-speed manual trans, solid axles front and rear, leaf springs. I mean, just kind of a basic manual vehicle. I love it. I'm working with a tiny little bit of room right here. And then somewhere up here, or maybe even up here, we'll actually put the little handheld microphone itself. And again, that's where we're going to make all of our adjustments. I think to keep things nice and simple, I see some really good roll bar mounts right here and here. We're going to build a bracket off right here, mount the antenna. It'll stick up just above the cab. And I see a gap right here that we can potentially cut out and run our wire right in. I think we can keep everything nice and close together. All right, so if we take a look at what comes in the package, look at how small this CB is right here. Now again, not the most powerful, but I'm looking for something very compact. So you got two different ways to mount. You can mount this against the wall and then you can put some tabs on this and lock it in there. This is actually designed to be portable and movable from vehicle to vehicle. So you could probably just get another harness. Those snap right apart, and I believe they make extra mounting kits for these. You can snap it out, carry it to another vehicle along with the mic itself. Very, very portable. So if you have a couple different vehicles that you use CBs in, you may only have to buy one and an extra mounting kit. Or we can just use the traditional mount right here, which is what I'm going to use. Goes up underneath the dash and you can tilt this just a little, doesn't matter to me, and you screw it in with some thumb screws. So again, here's the mic itself. All the buttons, channel changing, everything's on the front. This one does have scan. That was something that was very important to me, so I can scan and pick up any communications on a channel down there. And then it's got just a standard Cat 6 plug-in right here in the front, and it also comes with an extension cable, so if you want to mount this behind a seat. Although I did read the reviews, the only negative thing I could find about this unit was apparently this is not a very good shielded cable, and it can pick up some interference. Some people are talking about using a standard Cat 6 shielded cable and not the one that's provided. We're going to have all this so close together, this stretches out quite long. I don't want to use the extension cable. So very straightforward. We're just going to plug into power and ground underneath the dash. That's all it takes to power this up. Plug it in. I've got a 6-foot coax cable right here, and then that'll run out and go to the antenna mount, screw our antenna in, and then we'll test everything out. Should be relatively straightforward. right, so I've got my mount attached to this bolt that goes to the frame. It's really nice and solid. That bolt also grounds out, so there is a ground connection that comes off of the antenna that I have connected to that bolt as well. Everything is nice and solid to the frame. Make for sure that you have a good ground there. We're probably also going to run another ground wire out from another grounding point inside and ground underneath here, because grounding is extremely important for the antenna. Now, not grounding certain points is also important. I just drilled this hole out to 1/2 of an inch. What you maybe can see is there is a lip right here on the bottom side of this washer that was included with the antenna. That lip fits down in a 1/2 inch hole, and I can't slide it anymore. The reason that's important because this bottom stud right here, I don't know if you can tell, it's gasketed right there. This cannot be grounded out to the vehicle. So it's got to go through this nylon washer. But it also can't be in here like this and potentially slide over and again ground out. So you want to put that washer lip down in there, slide this stud up through. Then we're going to put our flat washer on. This is very important, the order that you put it in. And then we're going to attach this to our antenna. Let me go ahead and get it snugged up and work that washer lip back into that hole. Snug it up a little more. See, I can't slide the stud left or right now because that washer lip, nylon washer, has fell back into that perfectly drilled 1/2 inch hole. So now we're going to tighten this up. We're going to hold this nut up top. We're going to tighten this antenna up since we know we're perfectly centered in that large 1/2 inch hole. That will keep us from grounding out this connection down here. Now that center stud, which we're about to connect the coax to, should not be grounded out. We can power everything up and go adjust the antenna and get us a quick reading. My gut says if I don't get the readings I'm thinking I should, I'm going to ground inside to a solid point and then come back out and ground here, making yet another ground loop. But I've already verified this bolt goes in to a solid part of the body as well as a roll bar frame. So it's a really good solid connection to a lot of metal in the vehicle. All right, so let's take a look at tuning this antenna. If you look up right here, you'll notice there is a Allen screw right here. This is a tunable tip. We can adjust this in and out slightly to check our SWR readings. And I may have misspoke earlier when I said this was a ground wire. Reading online, by the way, I'm a novice at all this, people talk about you don't necessarily have to use this wire. This can increase the impedance of the antenna, the ohms. Supposedly that can help in certain situations. We may remove it and see. I've even seen reports of some antenna specialists talk about clipping this off. Not all antennas come with this, but right now it is grounded. We're going to see what kind of readings we get in here before we remove this wire. But an adjustable tip is necessary. So I bought what's called an SWR meter right here. I'll put a link down in the description. I got one that also comes with a cable. That's important. So the cable is hooked up to the trans side or transmission. So we're getting transmission from the radio itself. It's hooked up to the back side back here. And then on the other side, antenna is, well, hooked up to the antenna. Very straightforward. So I'm going to need my hands while I do all this, but here's what we're going to do. This radio has channels 1 through 40, like all CBs. Those are your different frequencies. We're going to start at channel 1, then we're going to go to channel 20, which is dead in the middle. Then we're going to go to channel 40, and we're going to key up. So long story short, we're going to put this on forward. We're going to turn the calibration meter all the way down. We're going to key up the mic, and we're going to adjust this calibration meter until this needle goes to set. As soon as it touches set, we're going to stop. While the mic is still keyed up, this is why I need two hands, we're going to flip this down to the reflected side, the REF, and we're trying to get below 3. Ultimately, you want to get below 1.5 on your setting. If we don't get there, we're going to remove the screw and adjust our antenna out, maybe 1/4 to 1/2 inch at a time. You want to be very delicate with adjustments, so probably 1/4 inch. And we'll repeat the same process. Key the mic up on channel 1. While we're in the forward position, find calibrate until the needle touches set. While we're still keyed up, flip down to REF and see if we make any improvement if this needle drops. Again, anything 1.5 and lower is good. If we can get there, then we're going to go up to the middle frequency range, which is channel 20, and repeat the same process. Make any further antenna adjustments if need be. Then we go up to channel 40, repeat the process as well. Ultimately, what we're trying to do here is get to the lowest number we can get across the entire frequency range, channel 1 through 40. So some of the channels may go up a little, some may go down. We're looking for a happy medium right here. All right, so I'm on channel 1. I'm about to key it up, and I'm going to adjust my calibration until the needle goes to set. You can see I flipped my switch down and we went to 3.5, so we're really bad right now for channel 1. So let's adjust our antenna. All right, so I'm going to start at the all the way in position. Oh, and I should also mention there is a rubber cap for this antenna. You have to install it. I've tried keying up without it and listening to radio transmissions, and this literally just vibrating with the vehicle. You can hear the vibrations come through the radio. That rubber cap isolates all this. All right, so here's that rubber cap. We're going to slide it over, making sure we have no exposed metal. Now we'll test again. Very important to put that on. All right, so we'll go back to forward, turn the calibration all the way down. I'm gonna key up on channel 1, and then we're gonna adjust the knob till we see set. All right, you can see we dropped down beneath 3. Now what you're also hearing is I've got a pretty good bit of interference as I key up coming through my subwoofers in this vehicle. So obviously I'm getting some interference from the CB to my amplifier over there. Don't know what all we can do to solve that, but I'll deal with that problem later. But you see we dropped a significant amount. So let's adjust the antenna out just a little further and repeat this. Okay, so I adjusted the tunable tip out maybe 1/4 inch. So let's see if we see any improvement. Let's key up. Look at there, when we flipped to reflected, we went all the way down to 1.5, actually 1.4. That is excellent. Now we can continue to fine tune here, or we can go on to channel 20. Let's go back to forward, and let's do the same process and see if the tuning is good for channel 20, which is a different frequency. .3, that is excellent. So we're very close to where we want to be. Let's go on up to channel 40, the upper end of the frequency range, and repeat this and see if we need to tune the antenna any further. We may have nailed it. All right, see we're a little over 2 there. So channel 1 through 20 is excellent. Channel 40 is a bit high, so let's make some minor adjustments. I'm going to adjust the antenna out maybe 1/8 to 1/4 inch again. Let's see if channel 40 improves, and then we'll go back and double check our other channels to make sure we didn't get them too far out. All right, you can see I'm barely out with this tunable tip. Just got a little bit further because that has been improving me. I don't even think I went out 1/4 inch, just a little less. Make sure we get this rubber tip back on. Let's see if 40 improves. All right, go back to forward, key the mic up. It actually got worse, so I'm gonna go adjust the antenna back in. As you can see, there's definitely some fine tuning to do right here. So since we adjusted out about 3/16 of an inch, I'm gonna go back in that much, and then I'm gonna go down probably about 1/8 of an inch. See if we can find a happy medium. All right, let's see if going the opposite direction is just what we need. Yes, that got us down to about 1.7 out of curiosity. I'm gonna go back to channel 20. Let's see if we made it worse. Did you see that? We're a little over 1, so we got even better. Now, something I want to try, since I've seen several people online that know a lot more than me tell me that you don't necessarily need this wire hooked up right here, which again increases the ohms or resistance. I'm going to remove it. So we just seen that we were around 1.2 right there on channel 1. I'm going to remove it and see if we see any improvement. It's up around a 2, so that has actually slightly increased. Some tough stuff to figure out, y'all. Wow, it dramatically improved to 2.5. So I do want to keep that wire connected. It's on the upper end of channel 40 that improved, but it kind of decreased across all my other channel range and frequency range. So I think I do want the wire back. Okay, so wire connected back is really improving my signal across most channels. It's the upper end that it actually decreased, but I think we're gonna go shoot for the majority of the channels having better signal strength with the wire connected than on the very upper end of the frequency range improving. But there is a lot you can do with this. I'm a novice. I've tried to make that clear to y'all, but I want to show y'all the messing around that I'm doing. The other important thing that I've always heard with coax in general, don't coil it up and stick it on your dash. You want to do what's called bunching. So this wire right here, I'll run across in my dash, maybe loop and come back around somewhere else and wire tie everything up. When you coil up an antenna wire like this, really I should just go buy a 3-footer or a 2-footer. That may be what I do, but coiling it up actually is bad for your signal. So this is awesome. Now we have, by the way, I'm picking up a bunch of channels right now, but I didn't figure I want to hear all the chatter and traffic. Now we have emergency channels we can get on. We can talk to the locals. Of course, I'll admit there is a bunch of just, I don't know, trucker traffic going on right now. Some crazy talk too. I didn't think you could do all this stuff over the radio. But at least now we can communicate with locals when we get way down in these large blocks of woods where there's no homes or nothing. It's just timberland company. We can get ourselves out in an emergency. If we get hit by another hurricane or tornadoes like this area got last week and cell towers are down, we can communicate with some locals as well. All right, so I know some of y'all are also wondering if we're setting all this up for emergency use. It's kind of what this vehicle's for, farm use, emergency use, and a little bit of fun. Why are we going old school CB? Well, the CB is still in use around here, but I'm finding out from a lot of the locals, most of them are converting over to GMRS radios. So look what I have right here. Thanks to an awesome viewer, Mikey, you're always thinking about us. I just got 2 surprise radios in. Now, if you're not familiar with GMRS radios, these actually use repeater towers. So you're talking extremely long range here because it goes from tower to tower to communicate to the person you're talking to. Huge frequency range. So I need to learn the frequencies that some of these local crews are using down here in these deep woods, and you have to get a license for these radios as well. So Tiffany and I are going to work on us both getting a license. So not only can we now communicate with each other in an emergency with long range radios, but if we're down in the woods and get into a bind, we can scan CB channels and we can scan GMRS radio channels. So we're going to find out a way to mount this in here alongside the CB. Now I'm covered for both types that are used down here. All right, y'all, hopefully you enjoyed it. This was just a little tinkering episode as you know, we're all about preparations on the channel. We don't doom and gloom, nothing like that, but we get prepared and ready for hurricanes with backup power and solar and all. Radio communications is just yet another thing that Tiffany and I wanted to focus on. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.